Hey, welcome to Leaders Underway. This is a channel where we talk about the practical application of leadership and what that looks like day to day. My name is Eric Moore. I'm a nuclear engineer and I'm a former nuclear submarine officer. For those of you asking, why is this nuclear engineer talking about leadership again? The main reason is that I think that for people who are STEM professionals like myself, or those who study STEM, we ought to be paying attention to leadership competencies and interpersonal dynamics. I think it leads to a greater sort of comprehensive or holistic approach to the workplace and life. So that's why I'm recording these videos. So today I'm going to talk about another submarine topic, submarine story. This isn't going to be a thrown object. It's not going to be a lost object. This is a broken object, in particular, my left ankle. So I was a lieutenant junior grade at this point on the submarine. I was in the middle of my qualification process. I was qualified the engine room supervisory watches for officers. So that is engineering officer of the watch, or EOW, and engineering duty officer, EDO. And engineering duty officer is what I would stand in port. And this is a story that occurred while the crew and the submarine were in port, and we were working on the submarine, doing a refit, a maintenance availability, fixing stuff, and getting ready to go underway in a few weeks. So this was a Saturday night, and I had plans with some buddies to go do a trail run. You know, that was something that I enjoyed doing in college. I love being in nature, love being in the woods. And I like running too. It's a good way to meet people and, get out there and do something active. So I was looking forward to this. I knew I had to stand duty on the ship the next day. So I had to get up early on Sunday and walk on the boat and do turnover and then basically help the sailors do maintenance, open work packages with them, and take care of the reactor while it was shut down. So I wasn't really looking forward to that. It's work. It was going to be a lighter day. We didn't have as much stuff going on a Sunday, but still had to be there and then sleep on the boat Sunday night. So, the plan was go for this trail run Saturday night, take it easy, go home, go to bed, get up early in the morning, go to work. So I'm in the parking lot waiting for everybody else to arrive. My buddy shows up, other people show up. We go on the run. My ankle, within a minute or two, left ankle finds a divot in the trail. And, I'd been through these ankle sprains before. I'd rolled my ankle before, and it's not fun. But this was a really bad one. Like, I heard a snap, audible snap, and I tried to kind of run it off, but it was not going to work. Like, I knew immediately, this is really bad. So actually, some of the guys helped me make my way back to the parking lot. I was already having trouble putting weight on this ankle. And I told them, hey, I'm here at my truck. You guys go for the run. I'll catch up with you some other time when this thing is healed. I don't think the severity really had set in yet, but it was swelling. I couldn't put a lot of weight on it. My truck was a stick, and so I was using my left ankle for the clutch. It hurt. Okay, so I got home, and I'm thinking, I'm supposed to go to work tomorrow. I'm supposed to walk in to work and be on my feet tomorrow. This isn't very good. I don't know if I can do that or not. I mean, I was like hopping around my house on my right foot because I couldn't bear weight on my left foot. So I called my boss, the engineer, on the phone. It's Saturday night. It's probably like 7 or 8 p.m. at this point. I didn't know what his plans were, but I'm like, I need to talk to him about this because I don't know if I can stay on duty tomorrow. And I don't get a hold of him. The goes to voicemail. I didn't really want to leave him a voicemail telling him this story, what was going on, because he was not my biggest fan, not my biggest advocate. I kind of wanted to approach it in a live conversation. I didn't want to ask for any favors. The command did not perceive me as that great of a junior officer at this point. A lot of that was my fault. I had to learn and get better. But I wasn't their favorite. And my thought was, if I can't get a hold of him for a conversation, I'm kind of afraid of this guy, frankly. He was a screamer. He was kind of mercurial. He was, blow up on me. I kind of wanted to kind of ease in the conversation. So I didn't leave him a voicemail. what I did was I said, could I possibly go into work tomorrow? Like right now it's bad, but my uniform boots were these 8-inch steel toe boots. So I put the boots on, and I walk around my house, and lo and behold, it actually did help quite a bit with being able to get around and put weight on the ankle. It still hurt. It was still massively swollen. I realistically, if it was any other job, I wouldn't have gone into work. But the position I was in, um, as an unqualified junior officer, didn't want to ask any favors. Wanted to put my best foot forward. Didn't want to have a mark against me. I already had enough marks against me. I said, look, I can't get a hold of this guy. I'm just going to go to bed, get up in the morning, and go stand duty. This is not ideal. This is not the best thing for my health, but I have to do this because of my position in the organization. By the way, I would not do that today. Okay. So that's what I did. I got up a little bit earlier, so probably got up at like 4 or something in the morning. Get on my uniform, drive to the boat. Parking lot was a half mile away. It was rough. It was a rough walk. And before I started walking, I actually called the Eng on the phone. He had not gotten back to me from the missed call the night before. And I just called him on Sunday morning real early. He picked up and he said, hey, what's going on? And he was like asleep. And I told him, look, this is what's going on. I twisted my ankle really bad last night, but I'm going to stand duty today. I'm just letting you know I'm going to do the best I can. And he's like, okay, all right, great. He goes back to bed. And I'm like, crap. He didn't tell me to go home or anything. He just was like, okay, fine. So I'm like, did the half-mile walk onto the boat. It was a very slow walk. It was painful. It was pitch black outside. I'm like looking to make sure I don't re-injure it even worse as I'm walking in. And I make it without any re-injury, but it's rough. I mean, it's really bad. Climbing down the hatch on the submarine, also not ideal in that condition, but I did it. And I relieved the engineering duty officer, and I took the watch, and I told the sailors who were on the boat that day who were there to do maintenance, and, look, I'm here, guys. I just want you to know I'm like pretty injured. I can barely stand. So I'm going to help you open your work packages today. This morning, I'm going to be like in the engine room. I'm going to be sitting down in the control room with my binder to help you do work. But I'm not going to get up and walk around a lot beyond what I have to stand the watch, to review logs and stuff. My butt's going to be in the chair. I'm here for you guys to help you do your maintenance, but don't expect a lot beyond that. And, when I go up for lunch, I'll go have lunch in the forward compartment. I'm going to come back in the afternoon. We'll do some more work. But after dinner, I'm not coming back here. I'm in pain, man. So, just so you know up front, get all your work packages opened with me this morning and the afternoon. And we can do that. But beyond that, I'm not coming back after dinner. So I'm going to stay up there. So we do work that way, It doesn't feel good. It's pretty painful. I actually took my boot off at some point, and I showed some of these guys on the boat, that I was working with, like, hey, look at this. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It was like a really ugly color of purple, like combination of purple and jaundice yellow. And it was really nasty. There were actually these blood blisters that formed. And I'd never seen this before, nor have I seen it after, but I could actually pop these blood blisters. And I guess it was just from the edema and internal bleeding on the ankle. It was gross. It was a wicked sprain. It was, class 3 sprain, really wicked. I shouldn't have been there, but I made my decision. I went on the boat and walking around really slowly and just trying not to walk or stand up at all. So we get through the day. True to my word, I did my last log review that evening. And then I was going to, around 6 p.m., I was going to walk up forward, hang out in my stateroom or the officer study and just like do other work, not go back to the engine room, not walk back there again. And as I'm walking out of the engine room, about to cross through the hatch, one of my sailors from Machinery Division, because I was the division officer for Machinery Division, is coming in the engine room as I'm leaving. And this was a guy who, kind of the young sailor, 20, 21, who kind of has that attitude of like, yeah, I'm a young enlisted guy, but in my mind, I'm just as good as you junior officers. So, I'm going to give you crap. I'm going to kind of razz you. And I basically ignored this kind of treatment because I had a lot more experience than these guys. This was like the first time that they had like lived outside on their own, left their parents' house. I was like 23, 24, 25. I just done, like I'm not, I wasn't that much older, but when they gave me a hard time like that, I just was like, couldn't take them very seriously. And I just kind of brushed it off. But he was one of the more annoying ones, to be honest with you. He had an attitude of like kind of a superior attitude. And, I wasn't like, I wasn't Mr. Naval Officer guy, but, I had a job to do. And it's like, why is this guy giving me a hard time? But I'm walking out of the engine room. He's walking in. And he's like, sir, I need to open a work package. And the combination of my physical pain, the fact that I'd already communicated to everyone on the boat that day, like, hey, I'm in rough shape, just so you know. I'm not going to do a lot of work with you this evening, so get all your stuff open earlier. He was totally disregarded that. It was like he wasn't listening the whole day. And this was a guy who really kind of treated me poorly beyond that day to day. He had really bad attitude. And I just, without any conscious thought, I just exploded on him. I yelled at him, I bellowed. I don't remember what I said, but I just kind of dressed him down, I suppose. And his reaction, I had never seen this guy act, with this reaction before. He like went fight or flight, and his whole body tensed up. And his face was like just contorted into an expression of disbelief. And like I said, I didn't really want to blow up on this guy. I kept my cool the rest, the day before this, or the day to this point. But I couldn't believe that what he was asking, after I had shown everybody how bad of shape I was in. So, needless to say, his WAF did not get opened. His work didn't get opened. And I was like, "What's wrong with you?" So I went, worked on some other stuff, and then went to bed. I got up for my midnight tour to check logs for the midnight tour, and still in a lot of pain. Next morning, I turned over to the oncoming engineering duty officer. I'm still hobbling. I'm like holding on to handrails and stuff, walking around the boat. The captain, everyone's on the boat. This is Monday morning. The whole crew's on the boat now. The captain, the XO, my boss, the eng. So that Sunday, it was a skeleton crew. And there wasn't anyone there besides me and the ship's duty officer in terms of upper leadership. And then, my management was there on Monday through the captain, and the captain sees me and he's like, "Are you okay?" He sees me like, limping essentially. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to go see the doc." So I go to see the corpsman who wasn't there on Sunday. This was the weekend. And the corpsman's like, he was a guy who had been an augmentee in, I'm not sure if he went to both Iraq and Afghanistan, but he went to, at least one of those theaters. He had seen a lot of injuries way beyond, a twisted ankle. And he looks at me and he's like, "Sir, you're fine. Like, you're going to be okay." I'm like, "Okay, all right. I don't feel okay, but I'll take your word for it." And it just so happened that his relief was there with us, the new corpsman, and a younger guy, and he says, "Doc, maybe he should get an X-ray." And I like this. I like the sound of that a little bit better. And I said, "Yeah, I would like an X-ray." And the salty doc was like, "Okay, whatever, sir. If you want to get an X-ray, go up to the hospital and get an X-ray. That's fine." So I told my boss, the eng, hey, I'm going to go get an x-ray, see what this is about. I'll let you know. Went to go talk to base medical. They say, oh, yeah, this is a pretty bad injury. I got an x-ray. The x-ray indicated actually that I did have a fracture of the ankle. It was not a clean break of the bone. It was an avulsion fracture. Basically what that means is the sprain was so bad that the ligament pulled the attachment point, the bone where they attach, off the rest of the bone. So it was a fracture. It was an actual fracture, but I think it could have been a lot worse, but it was still a fracture. So before they had found the fracture, there was no discussion of like, oh, you need to like not go to work for a while or limited duty. That's what we would say in the military, like a limited duty chit or whatever, where it's like you can't do your normal job for a while until this heals. So at this point, I get an official limited duty kind of chit or order, and they basically say like, yeah, you're not going to go on a deployment. And so we were slated to deploy in like 3 weeks, and the medical people said, yeah, you can't go on that deployment. You need to stay back and heal this thing, go to physical therapy, and we need to re-X-ray it in a few weeks and see if it's healed. And so I told my command this. They weren't really thrilled with this. Obviously, that would mean one less watchstander in the engine room to stand watch. And going on deployments is how you learn and advance and finish your qualifications. So this would be, kind of put back my qualification status potentially. So they weren't happy about it, but it was doctor's orders at this point. And so what happened was my ship went to sea in like a few weeks. I was attached to another command to basically babysit me. So I would get up in the morning. I would go into this other command who was not at sea. They were in port, and I would go talk to their XO and just show my face and say, "Hey, I'm here." And he's like, "Okay, great. You can do some studying today for your qualifications. Maybe do some checkouts." And I'd be like, "Okay." And then I have physical therapy at like 10:30 a.m. I'd go to the physical therapy guy on base. He was helping me to get heal my ankle doing physical therapy. Um, it was a tough injury. It took a long time. It took obviously weeks to heal. And at the 6 or 7 week mark, the X-ray showed it had healed, and the swelling was way down. And so 6 or 7 week mark, I was given authorization. I was told go back to your boat. And this was a tough period for me. I obviously did not want to destroy my ankle. This was an accident, and I was so accustomed to working really hard. As a junior officer, standing watch, standing duty, um, other duties and responsibilities to help the ship get through refit, to develop work packages and stuff. And going from like 100 miles an hour to basically zero didn't feel good. It felt like I was getting nothing done every day. And it wasn't like I could go out and party. I used to go to Seattle on the weekends and have beers and go to restaurants and walk around. I couldn't do that. Like I was so broken. I couldn't be on my foot. It really hurt. I was on like 800 milligram naproxens, painkillers, and I felt weird. I couldn't drink while I was on those, and I couldn't go out and do bar hopping and stuff like a 20-year-old guy anyway, because I could re-injure the ankle, and I was just slow. I was I could barely put weight on it. So I had crutches and a boot, but still it was rough. It was very painful. So I literally just read books. I ordered computer parts. I built a new computer. I did everything I could at my house, to keep busy, entertain myself, but it was still really boring. My friends were on deployment, and I didn't have like roots in that community. I'd only been there a year or two in that local area, so I had nobody to hang out with and nothing to do but read and whatever other projects I could find. So it was really not that fun to be out of even though deployments are difficult too, it felt really weird to be left behind, and I didn't feel good about it. I like staying engaged and busy. I like having work, So after it healed, I flew out to Hawaii. I actually ran into some other guys that I knew from other boats who were going to go ride my boat, and I ran into them in Hawaii, and we had lunch, had dinner, had a beer, and then we went on the next day on the boat for the rest of the deployment. And I didn't know what to expect when I got to the boat, but one thing I noticed was a lot of the other junior officers were a little bit, they didn't know what to say to me. They were a little standoffish, but there was no like hazing, there was no outright abuse. And some guys who I was closer to in age and had like a social life with, I would go out with them and stuff. They were a little bit more warm and welcomed me back. And in a few days, one of those guys told me, "Yeah, so when this happened, when you got this injury, the command got us all together, and they told us when Eric gets back, you are not going to mistreat him. You are not going to haze him. You're not going to make any comments. You're not going to mistreat him in any way. You're going to welcome him back because this guy stood duty a whole day on a broken ankle. He came into work. He did his job on a broken ankle, and we owe him respect and dignity when he gets back, right?" And prior to this point in my career, my command had never gone to bat for me. They only made demands of me. And that's kind of the life of a junior officer in the submarine community. Very demanding. There's not room for your comfort or desires in large part. So when I heard that they had gone to bat for me like that, that actually really meant a lot to me. It caused me to reevaluate what kind of people they were and how I stood in relation to the command. And I think that this happening to me and them seeing the extent to which I would go to bat for my job and the command and the boat caused them to reevaluate what kind of person I was and my level of skin in the game and commitment. And so, my last few videos, I've had, like 3 takeaways and this kind of somewhat in-depth analysis. But my analysis of this situation, I have one takeaway. And the takeaway is simply that, again, in any organization, demonstrating above average commitment is the best way to yourself receive above average commitment or treatment. And so I understand there's details at play that make this, this won't be true in every case. For instance, if you're working for a Fortune 500 company and revenue's down, the economy's going in recession, and the company has to lay people off to satisfy their shareholders, they're still going to lay some great people off who have demonstrated commitment to the organization. So look, I understand this isn't a universal, but in my experience and my career, even post Navy, I found the best way to, gain recognition and commitment, whether that's promotions or, other benefits, is to first myself provide an above average commitment and work for the organization. So that's really it. That's kind of the story. That's my takeaway. As I said, I understand that it's not fully universal, but start there. Start there. And the way I do this is, based on my skill set, whether that's knowledge, experience, my perceptions, my thoughts, how am I best equipped to give back in an outsized way or deliver value in an outsized way to the organization based on where I am and where the broader organization is. And that's where I start, giving the biggest bang for my buck based on time or whatever else. And then go from there, right? And this has worked really well for me. And when I'm feeling as if maybe I want to take a break, not push as hard, I remind myself of this story and stories like this, and the fact that you're going to get what's best for you only when you deliver outsized commitment to others, right? And I try to do that without expectation of any particular outcome at any particular point in time, but just trusting the process that those benefits will return to me at a later date. And so far, it's always worked out that way for me. So if you've been with us this long, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have another similar story, maybe about an injury that affected your work performance, if you have a different interpretation than I did from this story, or a different interpretation or takeaway from my scenario, leave those discussions in the comments below. I would love to see some conversation around this story and how this lines up with your experiences. And above all, think about how this story, this scenario, and the takeaway could apply to a situation going on in your life, maybe a situation going on in the life of someone you work with or someone close to you. And consider how these talking points could impact something going on in your life. Because although these stories are from a faraway nuclear submarine, they're really meant for you, the viewer, so you can be a leader underway in your life. Thanks. Bye.